Hey folks, I want to introduce you to Scott Gore. He's a cowboy, makes a living as a rawhide braider, if you can believe that. But he does clinics, he has an online class, he has a huge social media presence. He does roping clinics. It's kind of an amazing story. You're going to really enjoy it. I call this one Tied Up in Knots. We're cleared for takeoff.
Hey, Scott. It's nice to kind of get to meet you here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, everybody, I'm with Scott Gore, and you're a well known braider and Western roper. And so, what kind of roping do you do?
I like to focus on the big loop style of roping. I use riettas a lot. I
That you
love
make,
to,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to braid riettas, and that just transfers right over to my love for roping as well.
So, when you make a rietta, does it have a nylon string on the inside?
It doesn't. Some people have done that. I personally never have. I have made some that do have a core, but I just use another rawhide string for that core.
Okay.
And it kind of gives them a little bit different feel, and yeah, it can be kind of an interesting feel sometimes to have one that has a core and one that doesn't.
Excellent. And so, you kind of became famous because of your Uncle Al, right?
Yeah, actually, I was walking through the Kansas City airport one time, and I gave them my boarding pass, and they were like, "Oh, your cousin was just here." So,
So, no relation to Al Gore?
No.
All right. Thankfully.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And where are you from?
So I'm originally from Central Kansas. I'm from Larned, Kansas. My wife's from Hutchinson, Kansas.
Okay.
Yep. And I grew up there, and we actually got married and then lived on the place that I grew up on for the first 5 years that we were married, and we had a small cow-calf outfit there. But then we moved to Missouri about 3.5 years ago or so. We had friends here, and we were kind of looking for a change in weather a little bit. It seemed like it never rained anymore where we lived, and the dirt just blew all winter long. And so we decided to make a change, and we're glad we did.
So, you'll have to pardon me. Did you guys get married at 13? Because you don't look like you could have been.
Well,
married.
we've been married for 9 years this December, but I'm 33. So.
I'll be dang. Well, you've aged very well.
Well, that's my wife. She keeps me young. So
Did you grow up on a ranch?
we didn't have cattle growing up. We always had a lot of horses around. My dad worked in the commercial feedlots over there in Kansas, and so that was kind of my exposure to it. Fortunately, though, my outlet for ranching was our neighbors. They'd invite us over, and we'd move their cattle in the fall and do the spring works and the fall works and stuff like that. And actually, growing up there, it was a surprise, but our neighbors would use riettas and a little bit of braided rawhide gear, which is a surprise in central Kansas. But that was my first exposure to it, and I just loved it. I was taken with it right away, and I've always loved Cowboy.
And how did you learn how to braid?
Yeah, I'm mostly self-taught. I actually picked it up when I was about 6 years old or so.
Wow.
Just going there and seeing those riettas and that braided gear in use, I was just fascinated by it. And my dad had some old Bruce Grant books, which I think a lot of people who have braided at all or in the cowboy world would know of those old Bruce Grant books. Almost everybody's had a copy or seen one. And I would just pore over those for hours and try to learn the buttons and the braids. And it's kind of evolved from there. I was able to save up my own money and buy a string cutter when I was a little bit older, and that got me into doing rawhide instead of just
And then
leather.
a string cutter, is that an expensive bit of gear?
They are a little bit expensive, but fortunately for most people, they're going to be a lifetime tool. So you buy that string cutter that cuts your string for width and bevels, and you're going to have that thing forever. And so I still have the original one that I began with.
So I've seen some of your videos. So you start out with a big sheet of rawhide, and you wet it down, and then you pull it through your string cutter. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep, I make the hides. I do buy a few hides from some friends of mine who
You make the hides. Tell us about that.
So the hides just come from the friends and neighbors. If anybody's got a cow down or one that died or something like that, I'll harvest that hide, and I will go through the process of making rawhide, which is basically removing the hair and drying it. And then at that point, you've got rawhide, and you're ready to go on and make your projects then.
So it's not cured with smoke or salt or borax or nothing.
It's not. I do use hydrated lime to help that hair slip off, but other than that, there's no chemicals or anything involved in it. it's kind of the ultimate form of recycling in a way, because it's a very natural process, and it can really be a product that lasts forever then if it's cared for.
And can you use venison hide or horse hide or any of that?
You definitely can. I haven't had a lot of luck with deer hides myself. I did try it one time, but the hides that I got were from deer taken in the early season, and they had so many bug bites and things on them that it didn't really work out for me.
Oh, okay.
Because that can damage the surface of the hide. But certainly, all kinds of hides can work. A lot of the braided gear that you see coming out of South America or Argentina is going to be horsehide. They use a lot of that there, and it's a very strong, very good quality rawhide as well.
And then do you have trouble getting enough hide?
It can be a struggle if you're a full-time braider like me. You kind of roll through those hides.
And this is what you do for a living.
I do. Yep. I'm a full-time braider. I take custom orders, and I do a lot of social media stuff as well as teaching online courses, and I'm doing a lot of in-person classes these days as well.
Right. I tried to get you last week, and you said, well, I'd love to, but I'm in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing clinics all over the country or all over the world?
It's kind of becoming an all over the world thing. I haven't traveled abroad yet, but it's looking like next year we're gonna be going overseas as well. So it's a lot of fun. We're kind of living our dream and traveling the world as well as helping people, promote handmade craftsmanship, which I love. So.
All right. So if I wanted to, let's say, make my own riata or my own tie down or my own bozal or something, can I call you and get a class?
Absolutely. My online classes go year round, or I've got a schedule of dates that you can find on my website there and catch me when I'm on the road. Or if you'd like to come and do like a one-on-one in person with me, we can set that up as well.
Wow, man, that's pretty cool. Have you thought about opening like an actual school?
I haven't, but that's something that's definitely an interesting idea. When we were in Santa Fe, I was kind of just really surprised by all the art galleries, and there's such a Western art scene there that I thought was just wonderful, and that could be an option in the future, I think, possibly.
I grew up over the mountain from Santa Fe.
That's what you were telling me when we texted back and forth.
Yeah, so the Pecos High Country is right there, and I grew up west of Las Vegas, New Mexico. So it's an hour by road, but it would have been I don't know, something like 30 miles by horseback if I'd have gone out my back door and over the hill. So, well, that definitely is a good scene for a braider. Would be Santa Fe or the West.
It seemed like it for sure.
Have you been to the Cowboy Hall of Fame Museum in Oklahoma City?
We have been there, yes.
So you've seen some of that braiding?
I have, yeah. I've been to the Ortega room and seen all that stuff, and very, very cool stuff in there.
Nice. Are there any contests for braiders?
There are some out there. I really haven't done too many of them, although I'm starting to do more of those now. One that I just did in October was the International Federation of Leather Guilds. I became a member of a leather guild there in Springfield, Missouri this summer, and that's been great. It kind of opened my eyes. I really wasn't aware of the guild situation at all, but they're just a great grassroots way of creating community within leather workers, and they welcomed me as a rawhide braider into that. And then that led to me going to the international show, which it's a traveling show, but this year it was in Kansas, and I did compete with some of my work there. So
nice. How'd you do?
I did well. I was able to win 2 prizes in the Masters division, which I guess was one of only a few people that's ever been able to do that upon their first entry. So that was very cool.
That is very cool. Do you do tooling and saddle making and stuff like that as well?
I don't. I've never gotten into that. I am really interested in expanding into case making and things like that. That really interests me, especially the hand stitching and things. But as far as tooling and things, I just don't think that's my medium. I'm just not artistic in that way, unfortunately.
Really?
I appreciate all kinds of handmade work, though, and I think
well,
it's
looking
amazing.
at your stuff online, I thought artistic wouldn't be the problem.
We're all artistic in some way, I think, but unfortunately, the flowers and the stamping and stuff, it's just not mine.
Well, I should tell you my little story. I don't know if you heard about my finger in the sewing machine. Have I told you that?
I guess not, no.
So we got done with this class. Our certification course ended October 4th, and we make sharpening kits. So my wife makes aprons, leather aprons, and I make the sharpening kits. And we have a Cobra 4. Are you familiar with the Cobra 4?
I've heard of those, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a diesel-powered sewing machine. It'll sew through 3/4-inch plywood. It's really, really stout. And the needle is about like a 10 common nail. So it's pretty
pretty large.
Pretty large, pretty heavy duty. You can sew up saddle however you want to stitch. You could stitch through these boots with no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell my wife when she's sewing, I say, "Oh, be careful, don't get your finger into there." And so on like October 9th, I'm sewing along, and there's a little piece of string on this thing I'm sewing, so I go to grab it, and I put my middle finger under that thing.
Oof.
So the needle goes through the center of my fingernail, and I must have jerked it because it broke off and shattered in there, and it shattered the bone, and I had a piece of needle sticking out the top of my fingernail, so I pulled it out. I thought, well, I guess that's it, and I bandaged it up, and we shod horses, but it was bothering me, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was holding my hammer like this, and I was driving, but it was unfortunate. But the next day I said, well, I better get an x-ray because it was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an x-ray, and it shattered the bone, and another piece of needle had broke off in there, and I had a 1/4-inch piece of needle stuck into the bone.
Oh, wow.
Inside my finger.
Yikes.
So the doctor who replaced my knees, we do his horses, so it's as horseshoers, you're always connected. Like, the banker, and the lawyer, and the doctor, and
Yeah.
And so I called this doctor's wife because we do her horses. In fact, I bought my mare from her, so we're kind of friends. And I said, hey, I'm going to send you some x-rays and see what your husband thinks about that. She goes, oh, well, you're going to have surgery. He said he would do it. So this guy is like, he's like a craftsman when it comes to replacing knees, but I think he was a little bit nervous about my finger, but they had to put me under. And he tried to dig it out this side, but he couldn't get it, so he had to peel my nail back and pull it out the top. Ooh. And I love telling this story because it makes people cringe. But I can't play a guitar yet, but it's coming back.
Yeah. It looks like it's healing up great. I've seen those finger injuries, and they're never right after that, but that one looks good.
Yeah, hand stitching would be the way to go. You could avoid that.
I guess so, yeah.
Well, I've been waiting for a good chance to tell it, and that was perfect.
Oh, man.
So the rietas that you make, how long are they?
Typically I like to do 60 feet. I think that's kind of your quote-unquote standard length for whatever reason, but I get a lot of orders anywhere from 50 to 70 feet. I've roped with rietas that were 80 feet. You definitely don't need that much rope, though, of course, but if they wear out over time, you can cut a little bit off and move down, and you still got a good rope.
Right.
But yeah, my minimum length is 40 feet, just because if you aren't proficient with a slick horn and roping with a slick horn and sliding rope and that kind of thing, they're just not very functional for you.
Sure.
And so I think 40 feet is kind of your minimum.
I bet you run out of rope fast at 40 feet, don't you?
I do too. I don't think it would be for me, but some people do try them that way.
And so how long is the longest strip of rawhide you can get?
Hi, friends. I am here at Cody Gregory LLC. It is Cody Gregory's shop where he makes his tongs, his punches, other projects like these chandeliers. He makes my hoof knives here. It's an incredible place. I love this poster right here. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about it. Kelly has always said if she won the lottery that she would build a place where everything was made in America with as much American products as possible. And even though Cody never won the lottery, he has created this. So he makes my hoof knives here. They were in Sweden, and we were able to get this whole product line and the equipment to build them. So he builds the handles. He puts the blades in, stamps the names in them. They go into the sharpening. You come over here to get boxed. Then all of his tools, if you haven't held a pair of his tongs or used one of his creasers or punches or pritchels, you really don't know what you're missing. The difference between what Cody has created and the average tool is significant. But check him out at www.codygregoryllc, and you will not be sorry to not only support our country and our industry, but use the highest quality product available because of it.
That really depends on the size of the hide.
Of course.
Most generally, you're able to get a whole rieta out of one hide. So these hides that, if anybody looks on my social media and they see me holding up those hides in the videos, Those typically, when I cut that initial string out of there, I just go around and around the hide with my draw gauge, and I cut a piece that's about 5/8 of an inch wide or so. And that piece is about 200 feet, 250 feet long usually. And
Continuous.
Then, yeah, yes. And then that becomes the 4 strings that I use to braid the rietta with.
Okay. Well, I did watch some of your social media, and you have some of those sped up where you're cutting through those, and but I had no idea it would be that long. So your riettas are actually there's not broken strands in there.
They're all continuous. I've only ever made one that had a splice in it. And a splice isn't necessarily a defect. If you do them right, they're not going to really be a weak spot. They do kind of have a larger area where those strings are buried in there and so forth. But yeah, all the riettas that I've made except for one have been continuous.
And what would you get for a 60-foot rietta?
60-foot rietta is going to be around $2,400, somewhere in there.
Man, and how long would it take you to make one of them?
Oh, I've probably got around 40 hours or so, 40, 50 hours in one.
Well, it's kind of like knife making or gunsmithing, for the custom gun make. A handmade thing like that is certainly worth it, but then that's an awful lot of time in order to only make $2,400.
Yes.
So that's that side of it too.
And riettas too, they're one of the most labor intensive things you can make just from a physical standpoint, because the way that I braid them, you push and pull on those strings to get them really good and tight. And it can be quite hard on your hands. So you can't really braid one week and then do another one the next week. I've got to have a little bit of space in there for my hands to kind of heal up a little bit after doing one.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever seen Brazilian long rope? Have you ever seen that event?
I'm not sure if I have. Oh, where they have like 100 feet rietta. Is that what you mean?
No, they'll have so I was in Brazil doing clinics, and the gentleman, I was at the Universidade de Cavalo, which is a horse university in southern Brazil, and his brother was a roper. And I thought, well, I'll go to roping. That's always cool. And they have, I believe they're 60 to 80 feet. And before you ride in, they have this post set up, and you have to put your coils around the top of the post, and the bottom of your loop has to be at the end of the post, and it's something like 24 feet. So you're holding on to 3 coils and a 24-foot loop. They turn a Brahma cow out, and they're in a 500-foot long arena just about. So the cowboy comes out, and he's swinging, and he throws this big loop, and it's 24-foot lasso, so it's or noose, so it's huge. And it has to settle on the cow's hump at 300 foot. So there's so many things going on. Like, they've got to sail that thing. They don't want it to be too big to go around the whole cow. They want it to be too small that it doesn't stay. And they got to keep their horse in the right spot and then turn off just in time. And there's a judge at 300 foot. And it's not about time. It's either it's on or it's not. And so then it's progressive, and like there'd be 60 guys in the first round and 20 in the second and 3 in the last round because of how difficult it was. But that was Brazilian long roping.
What an interesting event. I have not seen that.
Yeah, it was a very, very cool event. And I bought a rietta there, but it also had a nylon cord in it. And it was, I believe it was an industrial fishing line is what the guy told me. So I still have that. I don't know where, but I'll try to find it when we're done, and you can judge it. Because I don't know if it was handmade. I don't know. And it may not even be rawhide. It may be just leather. I don't know.
Oh, I definitely take a look. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to make?
Riettas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even though they're the hardest. Huh?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with riettas. Like I said before, when I was a little kid, and just the roping, I've always loved to rope. And riettas is really what drew me into braiding and what I was most fascinated with. Of course, I've done a lot of different things, reins and hackamores and wearable things and whatever. But riettas is always just the thing that's called to me the most, I guess, and that's what I like to make.
And do you team rope or calf rope or anything else?
I haven't gotten into that. Me and a friend of mine kind of got into team roping a little bit one summer just because we wanted something more to do with our horses, but we didn't stick with it very long, I guess, and I haven't done that, no.
Do you have a product line where you actually have, like, you can get this set of reins or this headstall?
Almost everything I do is made to order and custom made. However, if you were to go to my website, I do have a gallery page on there, which kind of has some of the stuff I've made recently. So that kind of gives people an idea of the selection. They can say, I want a simple style bracelet or a fancy style bracelet or or I like this hackamore that you had on your website, and that kind of gives us a starting place for their order that they would like to have.
What is your website? We should get that up.
ScottGoreRawhide.com. That's my website.
Okay.
Yep. And the website that I use for my roping clinics is RiettaRoping.com.
And so how does a guy go to a roping clinic, or how does he set that up?
So you just would keep an eye on my website schedule there, and if there's one near you, then you can get a hold of me through my website there, and we can get you signed up. Or if you'd like to host one in your area, then you can absolutely get a hold of me and find out the details about that as well.
And do you train horses as well?
I don't. Well, the first couple of years that we were married, I did train horses for the public and started colts. But then after the first couple of years, I went to being a full-time braider, and I haven't rode any outside horses since then.
So this really pays the bills then?
It does. It's been a long road, and it's been a learning curve for me to really learn how to operate a successful business. But it has become successful for us, fortunately.
And does your wife braid?
She does not. No, she, whereas I'm not very talented with the, carving flowers or stamping leather, she is just in love with photography, and she takes amazing pictures, and that's kind of her medium.
So does she have a photography business?
She does. Yep, Robin Gore Photography.
So you guys are both self-employed entrepreneurs, young couple, making a living, doing it.
Yes.
And doing things you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how amazing.
It is. I remind myself of that frequently. We are truly blessed to be able to do what we're doing. And anybody who's self-employed or has their own business should feel that way, I think, because it's a feat in today's world to be able to hold up keep all the balls in the air at one time and make a business go. So.
Jacqueline often says that self-employed people work 90 hours a week so they don't have to work 40.
That's exactly. There's a lot of truth in that. There are times when I wish I could be that person who I go to the job every day and I'm completely fine with that, but I've never been that way.
Yeah, there's been times in my youth where we were just going till 10 at night every night, and we weren't broke, but we didn't have all we needed, so we were having to work extra hard.
Yep.
And you drive by a guy at 5:30 who is sitting on his porch drinking a beer, and he's done with his day, and you're like,
yep.
I wonder what that must be like. Very interesting. The roping clinics, there's several kinds of ropes or several kinds of loops. You want to talk about those?
Sure. So in my roping clinics, we typically would start off with kind of 3 basic loops for the head end and the heel end. The whole point of big loop style of roping to me is just to emphasize low stress cattle handling. Being able to rope those cattle from a distance instead of getting right up there on them, staying out of their flight zone, I think really lessens the stress on them and is just a very practical way to handle cattle in my mind. On the head end, I'll do just a basic overhand shot. I'll do a backhand head shot and then perhaps a sidearm head shot. And then on the heel end, we'll implement kind of those same swings, and we'll do a basic trap shot, which is basically what you're going to see in a team roping or at the rodeo. But we would throw that shot in a more controlled environment. From there, I do like a backhand swing and throw a heel trap as well, which is just kind of the reverse image of that forehand trap shot. And then just a basic hip shot, which that shot can be thrown from quite a distance away from the animal, lays over the hip and in front of the feet.
And so your backhand shot, you don't call it a hula hand then?
I don't. To throw that trap shot, I throw that in a completely backhand style. For a delivery on that, you don't turn your hand over, you deliver completely backhand. If you were to turn your hand over, that would be what makes it the hula hand style. But on the head end, when I'm throwing that backhand, I do deliver hula hand style. That's my preference. And so it kind of gives that loop an extra push. You get a little bit more distance out of it that way.
All right. And have you competed in cowboy loop roping?
I have. Yep. I've gone to a lot of different ropings in my lifetime. And we just went to one here in Lebanon, Missouri, just recently. And then we were heading to Kansas here for another one week after next, I think it is. But unfortunately, with equine virus going on right now, I'm kind of leaning towards staying home from that one.
Oh, yeah. Are your horses vaccinated?
They are, yeah.
All right. And are you COVID vaccinated?
We were, yes, because we
okay.
were about to travel overseas when that all took place. So.
Oh, all right. So you kind of forced you.
We had to get that done, in order to be ready to travel. We still ended up going, but yeah.
All right. Well, so Dr. Markoff was here yesterday, and that
Mhm.
was the main part of our talk was about the equine herpes virus.
Very interesting.
And at the end of the day, I really didn't get a lot of answers. You know,
Mhm.
he said just take your horse's temperature often. They should be 101.5 or lower.
Mhm.
And if they're not, then there's a chance that you have it. And I said, well, if you vaccinated, does that solve the problem? He said, no.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, yeah. So I was hoping I could get some real black and white answers, but I didn't really get any.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that equine herpes virus is going to shut down rodeo?
That I don't know. I don't really know all the merits of the argument with that. I hope it doesn't shut down the NFR because unfortunately that's kind of that's the high point of our Christmas season is watching the 10 nights of the NFR. So we hope that doesn't happen.
So you're not going out there with a booth or nothing?
We're not, no.
Okay. And have you ever been?
We have not been, although I'm going to have to take my wife one of these days. She loves rodeo, and so she'd love to go to that and see it.
And does she rodeo?
She does not. No.
Okay, she's
just a fan.
Just a big fan. All
Yeah.
right. You live in Stockton, is that correct?
We do.
Yeah. And do you have land and cows here?
We don't. When we moved from Kansas, we liquidated, and we haven't gotten a place of our own there yet. We just lease the place that we're at right now, but I'm not sure what the future holds there yet.
And I got to know about you through Jacqueline because Cameron and Jacqueline shoe your horses.
Yes.
And she said, "Oh, Dad, you got to get this guy. He's amazing." So, so you still have several horses here then?
We do. We've got 5 of our own right now. So.
Oh man, you haven't shot a horse before?
I have not shot a horse before.
When you pay the shoeing bill, you think maybe I should learn this?
No. I see how hard they work to earn their money, and I'm glad to pay it. So.
Okay. All right. So whenever you first work your hide and you've taken the hair off of it, you just let it dry and then it's ready to go?
Basically so. Once the hair is removed and that hide's dry, you've got rawhide, and that hide will keep almost indefinitely if you put it in a place where it's not going to get wet or the mice aren't going to eat it and so forth. It will keep almost indefinitely, and that's what makes your rawhide braided gear last generations as well. So at that point, you're ready to soak that hide. Rawhide, when it's dry, is very, very hard. You can't really do anything with it. You can't cut it with a knife very easily. So I'm going to soak that hide, a full hide, I'm going to soak overnight probably.
Just water?
Yep, just in the water tank. I don't actually have a water tank big enough to put a whole hide in right now, so I put them in the pond by my house.
Okay. Oh, hey.
Yep.
Probably
Be sure you tie a piece of string on them before you do that because they can go out there quite a ways from experience.
Have you gone swimming?
I've waded out there to try to find them. Yeah. But no, we're going to soak that hide overnight. And when I pull it out of there, I'm going to dry that hide off. If it's a good warm day, I can lay it over the fence rail or whatever. And I just want to make sure that I get all the standing moisture off of it. I'll even use a towel if I need to, just to get all those beads of water off. Then I'm going to put that in a barrel with a lid or in a plastic bag or something overnight. And that's what we call casing. It allows that moisture to go all the way through the hide. And when you pull it out of there the next day, it'll be very pliable and you'll be able to work with it and cut it with your knife. And at that point, you can start processing it into the string that you're actually going to use to braid your project with.
What keeps it from spoiling?
It will mold. It's kind of time sensitive. Working with rawhide is time sensitive kind of throughout the process. So if you were to leave that hide in there for several days, it would mold, and that will damage the surface of the hide if you leave it for too long.
Okay.
So when you get a hide out, when you get a hide out and you cut it up and you're going to start making a project, you kind of have to move through the process with some cadence. If you wait too long and so forth, it'll mold at different stages of the process, particularly if it's got a lot of moisture in it.
And does the ambient temperature matter a lot? Like, is it a big deal to June to February? A lot of difference?
It really does change given the temperature. In the summertime, particularly when you're making the hides, those hides can rot before you can get the hair removed and go through the process of actually getting the hide to dry. And in the wintertime, those hides can freeze, and you want to avoid having them freeze if at all possible, because that freezing expands those fibers in the hide and breaks them, and then you end up with white spots and places that aren't going to work in your string. So you want to avoid extreme temperatures if you can, and there's ways that you can work around it where you can still get a good quality string.
And what keeps it from rotting for generations?
At that point, when the hide is dry, as long as you, again, keep it away from the moisture too much, or you keep it away from the mice, when that hide is dry, it's a pretty stable product. It'll just last and last. Put some conditioner on it from time to time, and
So you don't spray it with shellac when it's done or something then?
I do not. A lot of the pieces that I do, the last coat that I put on is a beeswax waterproofer. Although you wouldn't have to do that, but I just think that it kind of helps seal things up a little bit, and it kind of restores that rawhide back to its original color when it was a finished full hide. When you go through the process of cutting your strings, they can kind of turn colors a little bit, just from the stretching and pulling and so forth. But putting that beeswax on there, it'll go right back to that clear amber color that it was when you originally made the hide, and it just makes everything look really pretty, as well as sealing it up, kind of keeping it away from the elements a little bit.
So some of your pieces, like on the knot on the end of your bozels, will have some couple of dark strands and then light strands. Are the dark strands, are they dyed or are they just?
Usually those are dyed. A lot of the work that people see in my pictures are kind of a variegated color, and that is from just the blood staining in a hide. You know, if the animal's laid there overnight before I was there to harvest the hide, then that blood will settle there and turn and darken that area of the hide. And then when I cut that up, you'll get a light part and a dark part. And
So maybe even desirable.
it can be. I think a lot of people really do find it pretty, especially on Riettas there again. It kind of gives you this variegated color, and they're really pretty looking that way. But a lot of the hackamores and things that people see in my pictures are made from hides that are that way. But if it's just some true lines in there where I've obviously added an accent color, then those are dyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, you've made them, you just happened to dye them before you used them.
Yep. For browns and things like that, I'll use a lot of coffee. If you want colors, reds, blues, greens, that kind of thing, those are going to be fabric dyes. I just use, fabric dye from Walmart, the Tulip brand, or RIT dye, RIT. That works just as good. So you can do a lot of pretty things that way with some accent colors.
I'll be dang. Man, there's a lot. Really, there's no end to what you can make with this stuff, huh?
There really isn't. We're only limited by our imagination and our creativity, I think, with any art form that we have. And rawhide braiding or leather braiding is no different. And so I'm always seeing things. And when we were in Santa Fe, we visited the Loretta Chapel, which was an amazing experience. And I took a lot of pictures of the architecture there, and I want to find ways to kind of bring those elements into some new pieces that I have an idea for.
Very cool. And is there several styles of braiding? So, I guess, if you look at somebody that knit, then, they can have different kinds of textures. Is there that with braiding as well?
There is. And it can vary braider to braider too. It's certainly not uncommon to be able to look at somebody's work and say, I bet I know who did that.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of the style of it and the way that they did things. But here in the United States, we usually have what's called the pluma style, I think you would say, where the V's run up and down.
Okay.
And in South America, a lot of the influence there is the gaucho style, where the V's will run the opposite way. And you can really incorporate both and add a lot of different elements to your pieces that way, which can be really interesting.
And is it hard? Is one harder than the other, or just different?
It's really not. It's just a matter of, instead of going over here, you went under and that kind of thing. It's really just a mathematical thing.
Oh,
I think I think with the braiding, a lot of people look at that and they think it's so confusing and so forth. And it can be, without a doubt. But it really is just very mathematical. The real art form to braiding is cutting the string and everything like we've been talking about. Because working with rawhide, you have to have that moisture content exactly right all the time in order to cut the strings and to braid with it. And they have to be wetter for this stage and drier for that stage, or it won't braid right, or it'll leave gaps, or the strings will shrink and so forth like that. So that is truly the art form, is learning how to manipulate that moisture content. And the actual braiding, the plaiting part, it's pretty mechanical. It's pretty mathematical.
Huh. So whenever you do a Rietta, you can't work on it for 10 hours this week and 10 hours in 2 weeks. You kind of need to be marching through that so it keeps your moisture content right.
Pretty much, until I get that string made and it's in the bundles that we make.
This is what's in the bags?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, in those bags, that's what we call tamales. There's videos on my social media. People can see how I make those, but A Rieta string, just one string for it, is about 100 feet long or so. And we have to have a way of keeping all of that together, and we bundle them up in what's called a tamale.
Right.
And I put those then in those plastic bags, and once they're in those bags, they will keep in there for a while. Now they will mold if you leave them for too long, but I can leave it in there for a week or 10 days, however long it takes me to actually get the length of the rope braided before I'm going to start having some issues there.
As long as you do it within 10 days, not 2 months, huh?
Usually so, yep. And it kind of depends again on the temperature, like you mentioned before. If it's really warm in your shop or wherever you're keeping them, then that molding will happen a lot quicker, and the mildew and whatnot. But if it's cooler, or if I bundle those strings up and then I'm going to be gone for a week teaching a class and I can't get to it, I'll just put those tamales in the bags in the refrigerator.
Oh, okay.
And that'll kind of deter some of that mold growth. Then when I get home, I can pull them out of there and go to braiding the rope that way.
All right. Well, lots to know, huh?
There's a lot of ins and outs to it, for sure.
And have you ever had an apprentice?
I have not, other than, the people that take my online classes and
Okay, so
forth.
I looked at the online thing, and it looked like it was like a leather or craft school, but it's not your school. You're just one of the teachers at a bigger deal. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, my courses are all hosted on Be a Maker School. Their website is beamaker.school. And it's really cool. I'm glad to be a part of it because they're trying to bring all Western crafts to that one website. So there's shap making and leather work and cinch making and all these different ones within that one website. And the courses are all kind of packaged similarly. And so you can get on there and say, I want to learn how to braid. I want to learn how to make a cinch. And you can get those courses, and it's going to walk you through those processes of how to make those projects.
And so do you already have pre-recorded stuff, or is it a one-on-one thing?
So there's a little bit of both. When somebody initially gets one of my courses, they are going to receive 12 videos that are all pre-recorded. And depending on the level that they join the course at, then they can get one-on-one time with me where we do monthly video chats or weekly talks or that kind of thing to help them out with the questions and where they're at right with their projects that they're making.
Okay.
So it's a really cool kind of hybrid experience that way.
Yeah. Well, I explored their site. I thought it was quite interesting. I didn't understand it at first because when I thought, oh well, he's got his own online website school, but it's the Be a Maker thing.
Yeah. When I originally started making instructional videos, I did have them hosted myself. But then when Be a Maker School came about, we immediately wanted to join with them because I think it's just great for handmade crafts to kind of join forces and have them all in one place like that.
Do you sell anything on Etsy or any of that stuff?
I don't. I don't actually have my website set up to sell directly through there either. I always tell people, if you want something from me, then send me a message on one of my social media platforms or just send me an email there through my website. Because I really prefer to give people that one-on-one experience, that handmade, this is made for you experience. That's what I like to do. And, whether you're ordering a hackamore or a bracelet, we want to make sure that that's going to fit right. We'll make sure it fits your horse, it fits your wrist. Or if you're wanting a Rieta, have you roped with a Rieta before? What are you going to be roping with it? Do you need a larger one, smaller one, that kind of thing? And I've always felt like if I just had it set up to where somebody can click through and buy, then I don't have any experience with them or what it is that they particularly wanted. And so I really like that one-on-one connection that I have with people that way by, let's talk about it. Let's go through the process and have something that's made for you.
Nice. We're going to pause here, and I'm going to go find that Rieta. I think I know right where it's at. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you what I paid for this. The braider was an old man, and I bought it out of the trunk of his car.
Oh, yeah?
And he had like 12 of them, and they use reais in Brazil. And I think I paid the equivalent of $40 for it.
I see.
So it just has a metal ring for a Honda.
Yep.
Do you do that as well?
I have never done that. I know that's the most common thing there in South America, but I've personally never done that. I don't know if for our style of roping that we have here, if that would be too much weight really for the way that we rope, but
yeah, yours is still a rawhide with a burner on it, right?
it is. Yep.
Now, is yours larger dimension on one side and gets thinner as it goes, or is it all one dimension?
So my Rietas are all one dimension from end to end. They're going to be a larger size than this, though. Typically, kind of that 3/8 scant to 5/16 is where I'm shooting for.
Okay.
But this one's quite a bit smaller. Definitely no reason why you couldn't use it, though. I'd just use it, if you were branding some small calves or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
So what about the quality of the work? What do you think?
Honestly, the strands look pretty good. They're, I would say this is an 8-strand rope, actually. And so that means that the strands are going to be quite tiny.
Right.
The larger the strand, most generally the stronger that they're going to be.
Okay.
So by having a lot more strands, 8 in this case, twice as many, and they're a lot smaller, then they're going to be weaker naturally that way. But actually, the quality of the strands looks pretty good. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Brazilian long rope, and I couldn't resist buying it for that price, especially.
Oh yeah, it's a great wall hanger, great piece. Let's talk a little bit about how somebody can get started braiding. I think that's something that kind of intimidates people a lot. So,
with any trade, being the new guy and looking at the old guys or the experienced guys, a lot of people get intimidated by that. But every time you look at an old guy that's really, really good at what he does, at one time he didn't even know as much as you do now. At one time he was a 5-year-old, playing on the playground.
Absolutely.
So you can't let that stop you. If you're 12 years old or 15 years old or 45 years old and you want to learn something, you should go do it. So what do you suggest for a youngster that wants to make Rietas and hackamores?
Anybody who wants to get started braiding, just dive in. Like you said, you're not going to learn any younger, as my grandmother would have said. But I think that's the place to start. Get a course, go take a class, find somebody that will help you learn, and just get started with it. It's really not as complicated as we make things out to be a lot of times. I've loved this expression that I've heard where fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so it might look like a big ocean that you're going to step off into. But in reality, once you might get a little wet, but there's plenty of places you can go from there and get started with any trade or craft that you want to do. And braiding is no different than that. So if you've never braided before, you can take my intro to leather braiding or intro to rawhide braiding courses through Be a Maker School if you want to start online. Or check my schedule and get in touch with me, and you can come to one of my classes that's around the country as well. And you're going to find that most people are more than happy to help you out, and you can really learn a lot in a short amount of time and get started with it.
I found that too, that most craftsmen, especially the good ones, they have nothing to hide, and they have no problem helping a youngster take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. How many people make a living braiding in this United States? Any idea?
I would say very, very few. I don't think that there's very many full-time braiders out there. Some people do it seasonally, but I would say I'm one of the few who actually do it as a full-time gig.
And what do you see for the future? Do you think you'll be able to scale this up where you can continue to make more money at it, or have you already topped out?
I think that I'm definitely going to be able to scale from here, and I think that the future of braiding and just handmade crafts in general is very bright. I think we're seeing a return to people wanting quality items, no matter what it is. And I think that market base is growing. Creating awareness is really important to me. I think that helps everybody out there just by creating the awareness of what it takes to make a handmade product. And so I think the future is very bright for what I'm doing and what other people can do.
And AI is not going to replace this.
That's a very important point. I don't see that really affecting my business a whole lot.
Right, and I feel the same as a farrier. Mm-hmm. And AI may make some decisions easier for a mechanic or something, but at the end of the day, somebody's still got to put his hand on a wrench, or somebody's got to put his hand on a hammer or on a draw knife or whatever you're using.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever use a round knife?
I do. I don't use them a lot, but definitely for cutting out, burners for Hondas and things like that. I definitely use a round knife.
Are you good at sharpening them?
And I am not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm really good hoof knife sharpener. Mm-hmm. I'm an okay regular knife sharpener, but my round knife has got some spots that are way sharper than others, you know.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really should try to get better at. I think our leather guild actually there in Springfield is going to have a class on sharpening your leather tools, which I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, do you ever use an edger?
I don't.
I've got like 4 or 5, and I can't figure out how to sharpen them very good either. They're for after you cut a piece of, let's say, tooling leather, you have that sharp corner, and that would bevel it basically.
Yep.
And once those things get dull, it's a hard bit to get into.
Yeah. My answer to that's throw it away and get a new one, I guess, because unfortunately I'm just not that. I haven't been around that, unfortunately.
That was my answer for hoof knives for the first 20 years of my shoeing.
Yeah.
And then finally, Per Brask, who was the great-great-grandson of Eric Frost, raised in the knife factory in Mora, Frost, Sweden. He taught me how to hand sharpen knives. And oh man, it's such a nice skill to have, is to be able to take your hoof knife to a razor's edge in a matter of minutes.
Yes.
But I haven't been able to carry it over quite to my leather tools. So anyway, I thought maybe you'd have a secret. How about scissors? Are you good at sharpening scissors?
I'm not with that either. I need to buy a new pair of scissors because the ones I have are so dull.
All right. Well, I was hoping for a little bit of secret there.
Yeah, if you find any, let me in on them.
All right.
Yeah.
And so the Leather Guild, do they have different levels, like certified or journeyman or anything like that?
So actually, like I mentioned before, I went to the International Federation of Leather Guilds show and competed at that, and I won at the Masters level, which is, I think there's beginner, intermediate, and Masters.
Was there a test that you had to take?
There is not. It's simply if you win enough ribbons at one level, they move you up to the next and so forth. And I won in the Masters level, and so I can't go down from there.
So, but there's not a guild that actually has like in the farrier industry, we have certified journeyman. The Worship Company of Farriers has diploma, associate, and fellowship, and so on and so forth. They don't have that in the leatherworkers.
Not at the local level. Your local leather guilds, and that's a great place to start. Going back to what we were talking about before, if you want to start leather work or braiding, either one, that's a great place to begin. Is just join your local leather guild or start one, because it just helps foster that community within makers and spreads that knowledge around. I think it's a great thing.
Have you ever done anything with parachute cord?
I have, especially when I was little kids braiding a lot. Parachute cord is great, and that's a good place for people to start. Because it's so durable. You can tear it apart and do it again. In fact, if you join at the doer or dedicated levels of one of my online courses, at my intro to braiding courses, I actually send you a braiding kit to begin, and it has parachute cord strings in it.
Okay.
And that's a great way to get started because it's so durable, and you can do them over and over again and really get proficient doing the buttons and the braids before you step up to doing rawhide.
Right, and you don't have to worry about temperature or
exactly
mildew or mold or white spots or any of that.
Yep, because that's what we were talking about before. There's so much to that aspect of working with rawhide that as long as you are proficient, you know how to tie the buttons, you know how to do the braids, then you can step over to rawhide and start learning all the moisture content and the casing.
So what do you mean by tie the buttons? I haven't heard that term.
So that's just, like the heel knot on a hackmore, we call that a button, or the...
So that little piece right there would be the button?
Exactly. We call that a button. That's a simple one. You can cover that with a fancier braided one as well. So any of those little knots, basically, we just refer to that as a button.
Okay. So that's a big part of the braiding is learning that one.
It is. Yep. Okay. Most of the braiding work that I've done is, a body, which is basically the main portion of the rietta or a hackmore or whatever, and then you've got the knots or the buttons as we call it, so kind of a combination of both that way.
All right. And if you get that right, then things don't come undone.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Learn how to properly tie those and then bury your ends when you get finished so that they don't come back out, and that's how you wind up with them not coming apart in the future.
Okay. All right. Well, I need to get a knot for a wild rag. Do you make those?
I do.
All right. What would one of those cost me?
Be about $160. I can definitely show you how to make one, though.
Yeah. Well, your social media shows how to do that a lot, doesn't it?
I do. The social media content is, what you might call short form content, just short videos. But there's a ton of information that I put out on there. And then my long form content is in my braiding courses then with Be a Maker School.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, yes.
And what's that called?
Just Scott Gore Rawhide. All of my social media is just at Scott Gore Rawhide on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay. Wow.
And you can also find my Rieta roping side as well, which is Rieta roping at all of those platforms as well.
Have you been able to make money from the YouTube channel and that side of it yet?
Social media is definitely an aspect to our business. It pays a little bit, and it's coming on stronger all the time. But it's so variable. It's hard to rely on that as a steady source of income, but it definitely, it helps round out your running of a business these days.
Yeah, you'll have one video that just does great, and you're like, man, if I could make this happen all the time.
I know. Yeah, that's definitely the way it works.
Yeah, I had one called Crazy Kicking Horse, and it was a short, and I think it's over 200 million views.
Oh wow!
And so
Very
that
good.
one short has made like $5,000.
Yeah, I know. If we could put those out every day,
Yeah, you just
I'd have a lot more cows. I know that.
Cows are high right now, huh?
That's for sure.
Yeah. My dad, he just bought 43 bred replacement heifers, and I don't want to tell you what he paid, but it was a lot more than you would have ever dreamed
Yes,
you would spend on 43 cows.
definitely. Yep.
Guess the world we live in.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what kind of horse do you ride?
We have quarter horses.
Is your wife doing any barrel racing?
She hasn't. No, she her family was really big in trail riding when she was growing up, so she wasn't really around the cows and stuff at that stage. But that was kind of what they did for fun instead of going camping or something like that. I guess they did camp because they'd go take everybody and their horses and go camp somewhere and trail ride all weekend. So she grew up doing that, and then I was more in the ranch side of things.
Right. Okay.
But she absolutely loves the cattle work and stuff these days, and she ropes, and yeah, we go to brandings and love being there and having a big time.
Do you drag calves with your Rietas?
Yes.
Well, have you ever had one break on you?
I've stranded one where you're like break one strand, but I've not actually broke one in half myself. But it does happen. Very common.
And so if you strand one, is it repairable?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. If you just break that one strand in there, 99% of the time you can fix that. And if you break them in half, depending on how the rope is made, you can actually put those back together a lot of times as well.
All right. Man, that's very interesting. Well, do you have any inspirational sayings?
I think my favorite quote, hopefully I get it right, is a society grows great when old men plant trees under which shade they may never sit.
All right.
And I think that's kind of the essence of what I try to do. I want to, create more awareness of handmade craftsmanship, as a whole. I say handmade craftsmanship instead of braiding because it's more than just braiding. It's just bringing awareness to all crafts, I think. And that's a big focus of my life and the thing that I'm most passionate about, I think.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. And how about dad jokes? Do you ever tell dad jokes?
I hope I don't.
Is there anything you'd like to tell people about you that we haven't talked about?
Please feel free to reach out. If anybody ever has a braiding question or, you want to know how to get started braiding more than what we talked about here, just feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message on my social media. Send me an email through my website. That's a great way to get a hold of me as well. I'm happy to visit with anybody and help you out with whatever problem that you're struggling with or something you want to know about. And I appreciate everybody who follows my social media and gives me the views. All of those things help us out so much with our business. And my wife Robin and I are very grateful for all of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're very receptive. Like, some guys, you reach out to them, you don't ever hear back, or if you do, it's months later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was very impressed with how you got back to me. And
Well, thank you. And if anybody's waiting on me to get back to them, I apologize. We're just on the road or something like that, and I'll get back with you as soon as I get home. So.
All right. Well, young man, I'm very impressed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And I think this will be a great episode.
Absolutely.